Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. It is another PTA episode. We have a good question today. For those of you who listen to Cosmic Weather, I want to remind you that the June Cosmic Weather is out now. And I also have made the executive decision that Cosmic Weather is going to be dropping a little bit earlier than the first. So if you want to either watch me deliver the message on YouTube, you can watch the YouTube video. If you prefer podcast version, that is already uploaded. So I hope you enjoy that. June is going to be fantastic. I'm very, very, very excited for this. And as always, I hope you enjoy the messages. The other order of business that I want to mention here is that my new mastermind, Clean, has officially dropped. And this is all about energetic cleanliness. So the way in which you go fast is going to be dependent on how clean your energy is. So this is clean thought forms, clean emotions, clean direction. And the sharper you get this, the more the universe can respond to you rapidly. And this is one of my favorite things to work on with clients these days, is just getting into that crisp, clean state that makes you an energetic match for the things that you want. If there is doubt, if there is misplaced focus, if there is aspects of your identity that are kind of in justification or in a funk, those are the types of things where you want to skip to the cleanest version of what you want. And that's ultimately what has you become an energetic match for the thing right now. This is not something that you're necessarily working towards. It is something that you are bringing to you now. And so this has become the context of my life. I am so excited to hold this container. And if you want to get crisp and clear and sharpen up all of your desires to just have you rocket launch yourself into all of the amazing places that you want to go, this is the mastermind. So if you are feeling the ping, the call, the nudge, if you've wanted to be in one of my containers and you feel like it's go time, check out the link in the description box, or it's onyxhealing.com/clean. Really simple and easy, but it will be in the description box, the show notes. You can find it on my Instagram if you want. So applications are officially open and we begin in July. So go ahead, jump in. Now is the time. It's going to be epic. Let's go. All right, let's go ahead and dive into prayers for the week. This first one is for Shannon. And you list a lot of things here. You list things like authentically expressive, being grounded, enjoying your life, living in your body, consciousness, self-forgiveness. So here's the theme of what is kind of encapsulating all of these things that you have listed. And that would be alignment. Plain and simple, like all of the goods come from a space of alignment. The solutions, the security, the love, the safe passage on earth, the expression, the feeling vitality. All of this comes from a space of alignment. And alignment is found in pleasure. It's found in simple micro pleasures. And that is something that just shifts you more and more into alignment. So here's what I'm in full agreement for. I'm in full agreement for you to access easy alignment, for it to feel easy for you to slip into that state and for you to enjoy basking there. I'm in full agreement for you to have conscious awareness of when you really feel on, and for all good things to just easily and effortlessly flow to you. Full agreement for all of that. I'm also in full agreement for well-being for everyone in your life. Full agreement. Okay, this next one is for BK. Those are the initials. And you've experienced 2 miscarriages this year, and your heart is broken. Prayers for emotional and physical healing, releasing the sadness, and praying for a healthy pregnancy and baby. Okay, so there is one thing that I want to point out here is that prayers do not serve you if they come from a place of desperation, because then the prayer isn't actually carrying you into alignment. It's not carrying you into a supportive frequency. It is this desperate digging your nails in, feeling really defensive and guarded around potential negative experiences. And that is just that's not helping you in this situation. So here is my prayer for you. I am in full agreement for you to have such a large vision, such a bird's eye view over this situation that you are able to shift into simply neutrality. We're not even aiming at ecstatic joy. We're not aiming at bliss. We're not aiming at anything like that. Simply coming back into balance with yourself, balance with your heart, balance with the powers that be. And I'm in full agreement for relaxation, recovery, replenishment, and being well-resourced throughout this entire process. And I'm also in full agreement for you to take pressure off of yourself, take pressure off of your partner, take pressure off of the baby beings that are floating around. I'm in full agreement for you to release yourself from the fear, desperation, and contraction that this experience has triggered within you. Okay, one more piece. I'm in full agreement for you to contemplate the question and really connect to, if you knew everything was going to be okay, and if you knew everything was going to work out, and if you knew that there was no loss in any of this, there was simply evolution, if you knew that to be true, if you could feel that is true, what would you think and how would you feel? And how would you be? How would you be moving through this? And see how that settles into your nervous system and what happens to you energetically. Full agreement for a sense of peace in all of this. That's really what I'm reading that you actually need. Take the pressure off of the baby, take the pressure off of the uterus, and instead go to relief. All right, this one is for Kim. I am in full agreement for your grandmother. Just full agreement for peace, full agreement for love, full agreement for health, full agreement for strength, and full agreement for her to live her life. Full agreement for her to do what she's here to do and have a good time in the process. And I'm in full agreement for you to stop calling her fragile. That's the other thing that I'm going to check you on right now. If you see your grandmother is fragile and you call her fragile and you call her delicate and you consider her to be weak, she will be. You will evoke that from her. So I'm in full agreement for you to see the best and highest version of her first and see how that shifts your experience. All right, here is another one. And this one is all about Jesus, Christ consciousness, all that good stuff. So here's what I'm in agreement for. I'm in agreement for collective consciousness and humanity at large to remember all the goods that Jesus offered. You know how I feel about Jesus. He was one of the most profound healers that ever walked planet Earth and one of the most incredible teachers that ever walked planet Earth. And I'm in full agreement for our memory to be restored with the quality of love that he embodied in his lifetime and in his experience. Full agreement for that. You literally cannot go wrong with some love of Jesus. You just can't. You know what I'm saying? He was oh my God, he was the chillest, is what I have to say. Jesus was the chillest human to ever exist. And that's all I have to say about that. All right, this next one is for Courtney. And it looks like here's the gist of what's going on. You are wanting to set boundaries with a longtime friend of yours who you are also living with, and you are wanting to do so in a way that is not going to cause harm to your dear, dear friend of many decades. So here are some pieces that will be helpful for this. First, shift your expectations. So in this message, you used words like, I'm dreading going back to that. However, if you start to look at it as, maybe she's coming to the same conclusion as well. Maybe she feels that this living situation isn't the best for her either. Maybe the next conversation that we have will be illuminating to the truth of what wants to happen next, and actually what wants to liberate us both. And if this connection and relationship isn't serving either of us, and it's not serving the dynamic, then the best possible thing would be to set boundaries and to shift the way that this relationship is. So start to see it from the perspective of what is best for everyone involved in the situation, rather than what makes her the most comfortable. Because if you live from that standpoint, well, now you're just codependent. If it's, I can't do this because she's going to be sad, well, then you're not looking at the full scope of what is best for everyone. So I'm in full agreement for you to look at the entirety of the situation, everyone that's involved and affected, and to move from a place of what is best for all, what is liberating the most love in the situation, the most alignment. I'm in full agreement for everyone to come to their own conclusions, to receive the information that's of their highest good, and I'm in full agreement for this to be easy for you, for this to be easier than you are anticipating. All right, now we are shifting into the advice column. So this is from Sabrina, and it says, hey, do you have any energetic tools you would use for living with people who are, first of all, pretty negative and living in scarcity, but more intensely pretty nosy, constantly surveying, and pretty judgmental? Do you have any tips on how to keep your energetics clear around in an environment where you're there all the time with people in a lower frequency than yours? Okay, so let me speak to everyone who is listening to this and resonating with this problem. If you resonate with this problem, Dom is the place for you. So that is the class that I would recommend for you, because I teach you exactly how to do this. So if you have not taken that, that is a game changer. That might be one of the most important teachings that I have ever offered in my entire career, and I swear by that, and I am constantly reminding people of that teaching. So Sabrina, I can't remember if you were in that, if you took it, but if you did, go back and listen to it again, because that will give you all the mechanical pieces of how you want to treat this situation. Now, there is part of this where you do want to develop some thicker skin, just in terms of, if people are judgmental, well, that's kind of the way we're designed. That's what your ego is for, because you have to decide what you like and what you don't. That's an important part of the process. And because of that, there is an element of humanity that has to be judgmental. So what I mean by this, the reason why I'm bringing this up is just so you can neutralize the judgment piece. Where if you have people who are in your space and are saying, we don't like what you're doing, that is just the ego aspect of they're human in that moment. That's all that is. The same way there's people you can look at and say, I don't like what you're doing. So this is where you do want to practice acceptance. Just, I accept that that's what they think. That's what they're perceiving. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. That is just an assessment that their ego is making. So let the more you integrate the judgmental aspects of you, the more you make those judgments that you have a little bit softer and you understand the mechanics of them, it's not going to feel so bad when other people get judgmental of you, because you understand what's going on. So that's how to soften that piece. I also did a whole podcast episode on judgment. So there's another resource for you there. I think I talk about it for like an hour. I think that's a pretty long episode. Soften it by saying their ego is making an assessment. That's it, period. It has nothing to do with you being good or bad. It has nothing to do with that. They're just having their own experience. The next piece is actually a similar approach, and I know you and I have talked about this. The gray rock. If you are not familiar with the gray rock, this is a fantastic strategy for nosy people or people who are extremely dramatic, right? So whether it be making you the villain or making mountains out of molehills, anyone who blows stuff out of proportion, the gray rock is the best strategy. So you can imagine if someone is really nosy, but you act boring. You pretend like whatever they're nosy about is the most boring, disinteresting topic on the face of the earth. Like it is stale white bread is the quality of information that they're asking about. I can almost guarantee you they're not going to continue being nosy if that's the energy that you're holding about the information they're being nosy about. Right? So this has nothing to do with needing their nosiness to change. It's if they're nosy, you don't even need to change that expectation. But if you're bored by what they're asking about and by the information that they're being nosy about, they're eventually going to stop asking so much. Because nosy people are kind of looking for emotionally charged information. Right? Because think about when you're nosy. If you're going to be nosy about something, aren't you looking for some tea? Aren't you looking for some juicy nugget to grab a hold of? Aren't you looking for something that has that emotional charge and activation on it? You're not digging around and being nosy, hunting for stale white bread. That's not what you're doing. And so you want to act as if it is super boring, become boring yourself in those interactions. And you can imagine every time they come and ask you things or they're like looking for something to get lit up by, and then you hand them stale white bread. You hand them a gray rock. They're probably not going to want to have that experience many times. So you have to give that to them first. Okay, the last piece I'm going to give you is to look at who they really are. So what I mean, this is also how to keep your energy really clear, is if you understand the reason why they're judgmental and the reason why they're nosy and the reason why they're surveying and the reason why they're doing all of these things is likely and truly because they do want the best for you. Now, they're not equipped to actually guide you on that. They're not living exceptional lives and have no place to be actually determining what is best for you. That's something only you can do. But that is the basis of where the behavior is really coming from. And the reason why this perspective matters for you is so that you can neutralize this. Because if you can get behind what I just said and say, okay, what is actually true? Well, the truth is that they really do care, and they believe that with their limited human mind, they will be able to determine what is best for you. They really are living in a paradigm where they think that. And so if you can just have one eye on that, it'll soften it within you. It won't feel so threatening. And all of this has to do with reframing things for yourself and shifting the energetics a little bit. Because one thing that I know about living with people is that it is one of those environments that makes it a real discipline out of shifting expectations for the people that you're living with. And I know that. So the best thing that you can do before you can get behind a change in what you're expecting from them is change how you're receiving their behavior and what you think and perceive about their behavior. That will soften it up. And that's really the first step that I would take. And everything else, I would say, ignore them more. Ignore them. They have lots of thoughts. They have lots of ideas. And if they choose to waste their energy in that way rather than creating a better life for themselves, that's their choice. But what you don't want to do is think they're right. That's the only place that you want to stay away from. And then, of course, everything else is just practice. Practice your practices, get out of the house more, or do things that make you feel supported more, and just do that more. And the more you do that, the more your frequency changes, and the more your frequency changes. And then before you know it, you will be in a much different place. You'll find yourself in a new home. You'll find yourself in your own apartment. You'll find yourself in a place that is more an energetic match than that particular home. So there's no other way. If you're shifting the energetic piece first, then the environmental stuff will sync up with you. So just give yourself time to continue shifting your frequency. I know you know how to do it, and so just keep it up. All right, now it is time to read some tarot for the week, see what's going on. What lies ahead? The very first week of June. What do we have going on? All right, 10 of Wands. It looks very busy. So I'm telling you right off the bat, it looks like there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different things that you have going on. And keep in mind, some things might be really fun and exciting, but then there's also probably things that you're going to want to say no to. And just take it off your plate. So don't feel pressure to say yes to everything this week. It looks like there's just an abundance of options, opportunities, and potentialities that you could execute on this week. That doesn't mean that just because they're there, you want to do them all. Let's see. What next? We have 6 of Coins. Things coming into balance, reciprocity, give and take. What else? And we have Strength. Okay, there's a little bit of, I would say, time scarcity to this reading, in the sense of you probably have this zing to do everything, to get it all done, make it all happen. And what I want to say is you can get it all done and you can make it all happen, but don't put yourself in a pressure cooker to do it all this week. So one of the phrase that's coming up is, yes, you can do it all, just not at the same time. And you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to start every single project that you're going to do all at the same time. You wouldn't want to, start every hobby or do every hobby all at the same time. And there's this energy of being overloaded with inspiration, but there's this bandwidth funnel that it needs to flow through. So you're overloaded in terms of stimuli a little bit, or potentialities of what you could do, and different possibilities of what could happen. But the actual things that you want to flow your energy toward, that is going to have more of a focus. So the Strength card, the word coming up here is actually focus. It's a matter of, what do you want to focus your energy to? Where do you want the bulk of your energy to go? What do you want next? And that will actually inform what feels the best. Because if you can ask yourself, okay, what do you want? And then couple that with what feels good, that is going to deliver the most. One other piece of information that wants to come through is consider the quality and flavor of the energy that you are putting out is what you're getting back. This message hasn't actually come up in quite some time, but the concept is sound. If you do something from stress, you're going to receive stress. If you do something from relaxation, you're going to receive relaxation. If you do something from pleasure, you're going to receive pleasure. If you do it from force, you're going to get more force. So the input and output are going to be the same. They're going to match frequencies. So this is actually what you want to pay attention to this week, is just what frequencies are compatible with what I want. What's my output that's going to equal the input, right? Or whichever direction you want to take it, it's going to have that energetic symmetry going on. So the more you keep an eye on that, it's going to make decision making, where you're flowing your energy, all of that good stuff, much easier for you to intentionally direct. That's the best way I can put it. So keep a close eye on that input output. And you don't have to do every single thing that you get inspiration for this week. It's not necessary for you to start everything all at the same time. And consider the bandwidth. Consider the bandwidth that you actually want to flow towards something, and that is going to make this week a lot smoother. All right, my friends, that is all that I have for you this week. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, apply to clean. Application season is open. We are going to have a fantastic time. It's going to be so much fun. And of course, everything else, cosmic weather. If you want to get on the Apex waitlist, classes, all of that stuff I put in the show notes in the description box. If you feel inspired to leave a review, leave me a whole bunch of stars on Spotify. I would greatly appreciate it. If you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please send it to them. And I will see you beautiful people next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.